What's up? Got a Bestech here. Bestech knives. This is a beat up box. The box is beat. BT1709B. And the name doesn't show. Let's see if it'll show on the inside. But yeah, I got it on the secondary market, and I think I know what it is. But yeah, that box is chewed bubblegum. All right. Well, this doesn't look worse for the wear. Just the outside of that box. Got a lanyard on here. Let's get that off. I guess the seller included it in the knife. And does it got a name on it? Starfighter. Yep, it's a Bestech Starfighter. And ooh, is this thing filthy? I want to deal with that right out of the gate because it almost looks like blood. I don't know. I mean, that's how I got onto my cleaner back during, when the outbreak first happened. I had knives coming in, and it dawned on me. I mean, who knows who's been handling this, and are they coughing on it, or what kind of germs are coming my way? And so I started. Knives would come in, I'd clean them. Well, then I kind of just got in the habit of doing it because, again, you don't know. And every now and then I'll get a knife coming in, and the person that owned it's a smoker, and everything just reeks. So yeah, this was sold as used, and yeah, buddy, the pocket clip shows quite a bit of wear here. The blue anodized scale, it's got quite a few snail trails on it. It looks like maybe I can see some wear up here in this polished area. Definitely have some wear here. I mean, this doesn't look too bad here, this polished area. And then, of course, here, lots of snail trails. And then this polished area doesn't look too bad here. Titanium backspacer, it's got a lanyard hole. So, you already know that I can tumble this. Like, for sure, I can tumble that out. I think the question's going to be is do I tumble the polished part as well? Or do I leave it polished? I mean, I could always tumble it and then come back and polish it. But I wonder if it wouldn't even look better if it more matched the pocket clip, if it was flat versus that shiny. Anyways, I mean, I did give it a good wipe. Got whatever was on there was off. The blade appears to have the factory edge on it. I don't see any sharpening. So I just think it got some pocket time. It's solid as a rock there. I do feel some wiggle in the knife when it's open, or when it's not locked up. There's no detent lash, but there's definitely some movement there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to test that pivot and see if I put a little tension on it, if that wiggle will come out of it. I got it to loosen. So that's a good thing, but I don't think that's a good bit size for that. So I think I'm going to back off of that and see if I can't find a better bit for that, because that doesn't seem good in my opinion. All right, well, let me find a bit. Okay, so this bit did work better, and I was able to put quite a turn on that. I mean, I moved that quite a bit, and the lockup is, I mean, it is super solid, very hydraulic, but I've definitely put tension on that pivot now. And so the question is, do I still have movement? And it has tightened up, but I do feel the slightest bit of back and forth right here. Just the tiniest little bit. Is that the end of the world? It's really not. I mean, when the knife's locked up, it's solid as can be. When the knife is closed, there's no detent lash here. Yeah, there's no movement there at all. So kind of inconsequential, but I noticed it. It was enough that it caught my eye. Let's get rid of a bunch of stuff here, and we'll give this a proper check-in. I do think that this may go to the ultrasonic, just because of how funky it was. And then I think I'm going to tumble these scales. Yep, I think I'm just going to throw down on it and tumble them. But before we do that, let's just get a look at this knife. I mean, I like it. I've come across some Bestech stuff in the last few months, and man, I've encountered some of their stuff that's just, whew, takes my breath away, man. And you know I got a lot of that heavy breathing going on, so yeah, that's significant. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a unique finish by tumbling that. I think it'll look a little older, but it won't look beat up. And so I think that's the way to go. Definitely let's tumble it. I guess I could tape off these flats and protect them, but I think the knife's going to end up looking kind of weathered anyways, so I think I'm just going to do it. I think I'm going to throw the pivot in, but not the screws. I think I'm going to weather up that pivot and kind of just dull up the whole thing. So yeah, this is going to be one of those videos where I'm going to stop here. We'll take it apart. But then, you know, it'll just be a blink of an eye for y'all. But I'm going to put it in the ultrasonic. I'm going to tumble it. I'm going to do some stuff to it before we come back. Yeah, so this screwdriver worked. I just need to be really careful here because it's not a perfect fit. And of course, you know, the risk is when it's not a perfect fit like that, you slip and scratch something, or who knows, you know. Yeah, it's an oddball little flat bit there. What do we got? Are these T8s? I don't need that one. Nope, T6s. I'll probably put a little tension on that clip before I put it back in too. I mean, it's kind of dirty in here. It's definitely not going to hurt it to give it a bath. Titanium collars. And a friend of ours on the channel hit me up because have struggled with these collars for a long time. And he said, man, just put a rag through it and pull the rag. And when it gets tight, it'll pop that collar out of there. And of course, it didn't work on this one. Nope. Did not work on that one. Trying to see if there's a gap under there anywhere. And there is not. Huh. Well, I'm going to take out the metal insert. The action was running wonderfully, so I'm not going to retune that lock bar. Got the blade, captured bearings, titanium backspacer. Let's pull these. Captured pivot. And of course that collar don't want to come off either. I mean, oh well. I mean, I'm just going to run them through like that. I am going to put this pivot together. And we're going to stonewash it as well. Yep. The backspacer looks okay. I don't think I'm going to have to do anything to it. So what I do want to do is I want to clean all this before I put it up. I did one a while back where for whatever reason I got lazy and I decided not to clean it before I stored it. And that was a mistake. It's going to be interesting what this finish is going to look like because it does have the highly polished titanium. And then the anodizing. And so it's going to be interesting how this turns out. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what that result is. What's that turn out like? Let's clean some small parts here. So I did get this for a reasonable price. So, I mean, if we can make it respectable, one of y'all may be able to pick this up over at Timber's Edge Knives for a reasonable price. If I don't keep it, it's pretty awesome. I mean, we still haven't done a complete check-in on it, but I can say that thus far, it's a pretty interesting piece. And so this finish is going to have a lot to do with what my final thoughts are. Where do we want to put all these parts? Let's get a baggie. There we go. Loctite on all these screws. Beautiful satin finish on the flats, stonewash on the primary bevel, and it looks gorgeous. Yeah, S35VN, very cool. All right, all that's going to the tumbler, and it'd be interesting to see what the result is. Now, like I say, for me, it's probably going to be a day or two, but for y'all, it's going to be a blink of an eye. So, and we're back. Yeah, did we transform or what? So, in the tumbler, with a little more aggressive media for, let me think, almost 12 hours. And look at this beautiful finish that came. And I stopped a few times, and it had created a weathered look on the blue anodizing. But the more I went, the more I thought, I think I can almost completely strip it off, just tumble it. And so that's what I did. There's a slight blue hue hanging in there. It did create a stonewash finish on these polished flats. Yep, it did create a stonewash finish on the collars. Here's the other one. And it feels wonderful. It's got a wonderful satin feel to it. It's definitely going to be in the eye of the beholder, I think. It cleaned up this pocket clip. It had all these little chips and bumps and was kind of tore up, but it cleaned all that up. That's in great shape. So I put the pivot together, and then I taped it because I did not want to impact the where it actually held the blade. And so I protected that part, and it does fine, you just tape it, but it knocked down the polish on the pivot as well. Yeah, so of course, throw comments. Do you like it? Should I have just left it beat up, and should I have stopped short? I mean, that's probably a tough question to ask because you didn't see it where it looked kind of weathered in the blue. I will say that one of my reasonings to keep going is that I do have a relationship with a couple of anodizers, and most notably with Colin and Colin's Crazy Creations. And so I thought, man, I can always get it anodized. And so I thought, I think I'm going to take it back to square one and just make it raw titanium and see what I think. So let's put it together and see what we think of it assembled. Yeah. Oh, I mean, that looks cool. Yeah, let's put a couple of these in. I mean, if you're a purist, you're probably not happy at all. You're looking and going, whoa, you changed the knife. Yeah. tried to get away. Got it. I mean, I get that thought, but once the knife is used, and this knife was used, um, to me, kind of all bets are off. The knife's used, so, unless I'm going to restore it back to its original condition, um, yeah, there's nothing lost because the knife was used. And in my opinion, the value of the knife isn't any greater to be used and weathered and showing wear versus, customizing it, polishing it up, anodizing it, whatever. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what that looks like in there. Nice. I like it. Yeah. Okay. Come on, man. I'm excited to get it back together. I want to feel it in hand, kind of see where we're at. That new medium, man, that stuff is awesome. I tumbled it for about 3 hours, and then I checked it, and it was already weathered, and all of the marks were off of it. You couldn't, it looked new. It just, the anodizing just looked a little weathered. And these flat parts were just brightly finished, polished. And so I thought, man, it looked great, but something just, I don't know, got under my skin, and I thought, man, I'm gonna keep going. I think it'll take that finish off. And sure enough, about 10 hours later, I thought, well, let's go see where we're at. And I took them out, and the finish was basically gone. The anodizing. I will say this: it's worth noting on the backside that I've been looking at getting a blast cabinet, and I actually looked at one yesterday for media blasting, and so that did come to my mind on this piece as well. That I thought maybe I media blast this and test some finishes, see what I'm capable of. Because I've always kind of been curious about that. What kind of finish can I accomplish, if I got a cabinet? And so this one may find its way into a media blast cabinet. We'll see. I think it's looking pretty good though. These all look the same. I don't see any difference here. Yeah, how shocking was that when I moved my hand? Like, there's no way that you expected me to completely strip the anodizing off of this piece. It's got a beautiful satin kind of with the blue, because there's still like areas that have the blue in it. So it's got this pearlescent kind of look to it. Yeah, it's very tight. Just that little tiny amount of rock there is still there. Yeah, the knockdown on this knife now with it tumbling like that, every edge is just smooth and comfortable. Well, there she be. Yeah, interesting. So the thought of bead blasting this is only to put a rough texture on it. Yep, it would be to put a rough texture on there. But it does, it's a satin finish, but it's been completely stonewashed. It's kind of a flat, definitely flatter appearance. Like this was polished out. I could polish that back, tape this off, and then polish that back. But I've stated before, I'm a fan of just the raw titanium. I think it's beautiful. Makes the piece look, mechanical to me. Yeah. So I mean, what do you think? Did I upgrade it or did I ruin it or somewhere in between? I even like the subdued look of the pivot because the pivot was highly polished. It was mirror polished, as was this area and this area back here. That was mirror polished. And so it's all knocked down now with a beautiful stone wash on it, kind of a pearlescent look. And then the kind of the contrast now is the flats. The flats are like hand finished. Yeah, very cool. I dig it, man. All right. Well, let's talk about the action. I'm gonna move forward. We'll check this piece in, but there it is. I mean, my new tumbler. I'm digging it, man. It's not my new tumbler, but the new media that I've come across. That I've come across. I love the finish that it's putting on, and yeah, and we used it to strip 98% of the color out of this. You can see the blue tint in there. I can tell you here live looking at it, is it gray or blue? But it definitely there's like looking in the camera, it's got a blue tint to it. But I think it's cool. Yeah, very nice. The action. Bestech Starfighter. Blade centered. It's got some jimping or no jimping. It's just got a little hook there. Um, very snappy. Wonder if I can fail it. Make sure we got our fingers off the lock. Yeah, I can fail it. Wonder how free we are if we remove the lock from the action. Yeah, it's very free and makes me wonder if that isn't overstated. I think I'm going to check. I'm going to look at it. Okay, well, I took it apart and checked, and it's probably set correctly. I didn't make any adjustments to it, so there's no reason to lengthen the video by showing me take it apart and put it back together. Um, let's talk about this action. So, I mean, it's very snappy. Even though I can fail it, it just takes the smallest amount of pressure on that flipper tab to run that all the way home and get solid lockup. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. I mean, it's 55% locked up. I mean, it's got a great lockup on it. Um, Access to the lock bar. This is lowered. Both sides are kind of chamfered. And so very intuitive to reach in. The tension on the lock isn't excessive, so it's very easy to unlock that knife. Yeah. Um, so, I mean, all things considered on the action, I mean, I'll give it an A minus. Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely better than B level action. Um, There's a couple of reasons I think that I'm going to give it that. One is that it doesn't have jimping on this, and albeit it is kind of milled to swoop up right at the end, and that does grip. I just mentally feel like there should be a jimp, like just one jimp even to grab would have maybe elevated this to A level action versus A minus. But it's a perception thing because I haven't even come close to failing to actuate the blade, so it's just mental. Yeah. The other thing is being able to fail. Not, and it's because of the tension that's on there, but it's not a bad thing. Yeah. So A minus action, ergonomics, not so confident, very confident. Yeah, just whoop, and starts to run its way all the way up towards very confident. And the reason is that flipper tab creates a wonderful finger guard that just locks the hand in there. The contouring, your main index finger behind the finger guard, and then these three come in here, very comfortable in hand. And this is, the back spacer and the top of the spine of the scales here are contoured to just fit wonderfully in the palm. Pocket clip disappears, and it does have excellent jimping on the spine. Can barely push past that. I'm not going to call it combat, but it's pretty close. You can choke up here. It does have that capability. Clearly, this is the primary grip, though. Reverse grip, yeah, very comfortable. And then as an added bonus, it gets extra points for me. This reverse Pakal grip, I'd much rather be here. This is wonderful than here. Yeah, this is not right. It's wrong. This is correct. And man, this knife's got it in spades. Wonderful. Yep. Let's check the pocket clip. We did add a little arc to it, if you remember when we disassembled. So let's see what the result of that was. Yeah, nice look. Just shy of a half an inch coming out of the pocket there. But it's got that bead blast finish. It looks good. I will say it's a little light in the tension department. I'm pretty sure that a tussle on the ground, yeah, you could see, and this knife could potentially find its way out of your pocket. I think it needs a little more tension on it. Yeah, that's illustrated there. I'm going to go ahead and manage that. Okay, so I put an arc in it, and now, I can barely pick it up, so I expect it to be much improved. Yeah, and the thick stuff, it's a dryer clip now. And in standard jean size material, it's got acceptable tension. Yeah, my spot in the back pocket. Yeah, what a good looking piece back there, man. And of course the screws lend themselves to grabbing on and removing that from the pocket. What about safety? Can we contact the blade anywhere? So I can contact the blade. It's got blade contact right here. Yep. From here to here, it's got blade contact. Yep. What about the tip? The tip's recessed nicely, so no issues with the tip. So the clip is okay, the tip's good, and I do have blade contact in about that space right there. And right here, it's significant where that's been milled out right at the edge of that, man. I'm catching the backside of that blade a bunch. And so I would venture to say that if you come off of that, if you slipped off, like let's say you locked yourself out, you held on to the lock bar with your fingers, and you come off of that with force, there's a chance you could get bit right there. And I've cut myself on a few knives just like that. Come off, boom, caught that blade. And what a bad cut for a knife collector, because you can't actuate a knife until it heals. Yep. Anyways, yeah, it's got a safety issue there. The lock is solid. We checked it before. So this S35VN, how we doing? Yeah, it's razor sharp. I'm tempted to sharpen the knife just because I could probably take some stock here and minimize the amount of blade contact through the back of the scales. But I think I'm going to leave it be. Let's talk price and availability on this. How much are these Starfighter? Are they still available? Is it an older model? The whole skinny. What's up? Okay. Well, there's two color versions. There's one that's got like a green and then the blue in these raised areas, and then there's the blue with the polish on there. But then there's a straight titanium version. Well, the two anodized versions ran about 225. The straight up titanium version looks to be like a tick over 195, just a tick under 200. And so I think Timber's Edge is probably going to carry this one for around $1.50. So save you what, 20%, 25%, I think. Yeah, there it is. The Bestech Starfighter, and it's gone through a little bit of a transformation. Hey, I appreciate y'all watching. I think it was a long video. I don't know. See ya.